You know, this is not the only time the No Kings movement made their voices heard. There were rallies earlier this year. You might remember the last one was counter-programming to President Trump's military parade, but that one wasn't in D.C. proper. It was all over the country. This weekend, it's going to be much different, including a rally in D.C. Brandon Wolf from the Human Rights Campaign, part of the national coalition of partners involved with this round of No Kings. He's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five to talk about it. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
I think first I want to talk about why you're part of this, what you want to see accomplished. But first things first, Speaker of the House says people who gather peaceably is a hate America rally.
Yeah, what a shame. It sounds to me like he's afraid of we the people. And he's afraid of what this country stands for, which is freedom. Because I don't hear that kind of energy for Donald Trump mobilizing military members into the streets of American cities. I don't hear that kind of energy for a president that is weaponizing immigrations and customs enforcement to separate children from their families. I don't hear that kind of energy to reopen the government and make sure that people can get paid. I hear that energy only when it comes time for people to take the streets to advocate for our most fundamental rights, our most fundamental freedoms. And I'll just say this, authoritarians rely on division and chaos. Throughout history, they've tried to pit neighbors against each other. They need us to stop trusting each other, to stop talking to each other. They need us to be at each other's throats so that we can't organize to push back against their authoritarian agenda. And that's what's happening. That's what Mike Johnson is parroting. It's coming down from the leader-in-chief, Donald Trump. These are the talking points they've been handed. But the truth is there is nothing more American than taking to the streets to demand freedom.
What was noticeably different last time was the fact that there wasn't a central, big national rally on the Mall. It was more decentralized.
Right.
In fact, there were protesters outside of our building here in Bethesda. They were protesting us. They were protesting what we do. And what I thought, though, was interesting was going down, and our colleagues went down to talk with them, and it was a very, in the grand scheme of things, very peaceful. People just wanted their points to get across. I think it was nice to be able to share those viewpoints on our air, even as we saw this unfolding outside.
Yeah.
What's the key difference by having this big rally in D.C. as well?
Well, I think it matters. I think visually it matters for people to see us fighting back in this city. I totally understand that the last go-round, the focus was really out in the country, talking about, you know, the rest of the nation, how are people feeling about the second Trump administration. But the streets of Washington, D.C. have really become sort of a microcosm of what this president is doing across the country. Every time I get out of the city and I travel, people ask me, what's it like to live in D.C. right now? What's it like to see National Guard troops at your metro station? What's it like to watch ICE raids at the bus stop on the way to work? People are afraid that what Donald Trump has unleashed in the streets of Washington is coming to their communities too. So it's important for this country to see us in the streets of Washington, D.C., pushing back and saying, as much as it might upset Mike Johnson, as much as it might upset Donald Trump, this country doesn't do kings. Pretty famously, does not do kings.
Why is HRC involved with this?
Well, listen, the fight for LGBTQ rights, the fight for equality is a fight for freedom. It's a fight for democracy. And it's so important that people know that these are not, you know, separate individual struggles that have nothing to do with each other. All of our freedom is tied together. If a family is not free to go to the doctor and get the health care they and their children need without calling RFK Jr. for permission first, then any family is not free to get the health care they need. If a classroom is no longer free to be representative of the communities that it serves, if its books are banned, if its curriculum is censored, then its books and its history are banned and censored for everyone. Every one of us has a stake in this moment. LGBTQ plus people are Americans just like everyone else. And that's why it's important for people to see us, to see HRC in the streets, to see LGBTQ plus people, to see their neighbors, their family members, their friends. Because, as I said, there is nothing more American than coming together and saying, we may not always understand each other.
Right.
We may not live the same lives, but we believe in freedom.
Are you concerned that when we hear leaders call this, as said, hate America or deride this, as however you want to deride this, this might be the precursor for things potentially, I don't want to say getting out of hand, but there might be some instigation?
You know, you can't underestimate this administration and the depths to which they are willing to stoop in order to get what they want. but I think you're going to have a really hard time squashing the spirit of the American people. I mean, in June, there were over 5 million people at something like 2,000 events across the country. I'm hearing that RSVPs this time have doubled and that there are over 2,500 events across the country. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. There is nothing you can do to squash the yearning for freedom that Americans naturally have. And I'll just say, just as a little, maybe parable about this. We've seen authoritarian leaders like Ron DeSantis in Florida and Greg Abbott in Texas come after things like rainbow crosswalks. They've, peeled away symbols of LGBTQ+ equality. And what happened? People took to the streets and started chalking their own rainbows. They painted their sidewalks. They painted their local business parking spaces. So for me, it feels indicative of who the American people are, that when you try to squash our spirit, when you try to tell us we can't, we respond with, yes, we can, and we do it even louder than we did before. I think that's what you'll see in the streets.
Brandon, well, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Great meeting you.
Good to see you.
And the Final Five is back right after this.